Hey everyone, and welcome back to OntarioCyrptids. How many of you are excited today to watch the NFL Conference Championships? Well, I know I am, and I know I'm opening up a can of worms here, but this gal is excited to watch her favorite team play today. Go Chiefs, go! It ought to be a very good game. On another note, I have changed the format slightly, so please let me know if you like it or not. You will see in a second what I mean. Okay, now for why you have all tuned in today. We have 3 great stories to share today, and I don't want to give it all away right now, so go grab yourself a beverage and get cozy on the couch or chair and sit back and relax. First thing you're going to notice here is I normally come in flat in on the map. We've changed that to a 3D, more topography style view of the map, so you can see all the peaks and valleys, etc. But please let me know if you guys like this format. Okay, first story, June 12th, 2019, and this story is in Washington County, and the nearest town is Whitehall, New York. I was walking my dog one afternoon around 4 or 5 p.m. along a roadway. A tractor trailer drove by and turned the corner, and that's when I saw it. The creature stood up once the truck made the turn. I turned around and walked away quickly, glancing over my shoulder. The creature walked away smoothly. My beagle hound did not notice the creature as we walked away. We were upwind from it, which walked away calmly and in a fluid motion. I returned to the area the following day with a few friends and my girlfriend, and we found a 12-inch footprint and a bedding area nearby. I would say the creature was approximately 6 feet tall, slender in appearance, maybe 200 pounds. The head had a pointed cone shape, no definite forehead. It was dark brown, and I didn't notice a face, but the creature did not have a neck. It had a broad shoulder, approximately 1 yard wide. The chest was nondescriptive, with long arms ending near the knee. The arms only swung slightly. I saw dark, hairy hands, big, dark, hairy legs, but nothing unusual. I didn't notice any genitalia. Also, no smell, and the beagle didn't notice anything either. The creature headed towards the only route towards a forest. This is on the north side of Whitehall, near Lake Champlain. I did not hear any noises as it moved away. I am a hunter, and I know it was not a bear. So this one was a short story, but very descriptive, delivered all the important information needed for the sighting. Great story. If you go back and take a look at the map as we zoomed in, Whitehall seems to be surrounded by forest area, and there was also, if I recall, a conservation area on the one side. So perfect habitat for a Bigfoot or Sasquatch to reside in. All right, this story takes place on September 23rd of 2020 in the state of Washington. The county is Cowlitz County, and the nearest town is Cougar. Again, please let me know if you are enjoying this view rather than just the flat version I normally upload. I was elk hunting that week in the Mount Adams and Mount St. Helens area. I headed up on a hike on Wednesday, the 23rd of September, at a place called Spencer Butte. It's located outside of Cougar and is a steep hike of approximately 1,800 elevation gain. It sits about 4,300 feet. My friends and I headed up the hill in the morning at about 8:30 a.m. The weather was very rainy. We were trying to be very observant of any sounds or tracks. About halfway up the mountain, my friend turns to me and says, "Did you hear that? It sounds like people yelling." I listened for a moment and I heard what I would describe as a distant yowl far up the trail. It was faint but distinct. We continued up the trail and eventually reached the top. My guess is it was about 10 a.m. Once we had reached the geological marker at the top, my friend and I began to search, splitting up in directions. I continued through the trees and brush for about 75 yards from the geological marker, and I came to a clearing. I set up for a few minutes and I noticed that before the clearing, roughly another 35 yards or so, there was an alder that was shaking. I could see the top of it, but there wasn't any wind at the time, and it was shaking intermittently. It happened several times. I thought I had an animal, possibly an elk, pushing against the tree. I approached it and paused as I could hear something begin to move away. I then backtracked, grabbed my friend, and he followed me over to the area. We proceeded to move around the area on the other side, hoping to see what it was. It was gone. Once I got to the tree, I was surprised by how big the trunk was. Something big must have moved it. We split up again and I went back the way I came. As I was walking, I came across a bit of mud and gravel. I noticed something very distinct, a print. It was a left foot. I could see all of the toes outlined, and it was much, much bigger than my foot. I took a picture with my phone. We didn't have any other incidents but the sound, tree shaking, and prints, which are very compelling evidence. The location was also very compelling. The print was well away from the initial trail and geological marker. I have always been a believer. My grandfather researched and searched for Bigfoot, and before he died, he gave me his plaster cast from California. On another note, a few months ago, I had a very strange early morning whistling experience at about 2:30 a.m. with eye shine, movement, and a dog that was very wary but fearful of something in the backwoods near my house. This story reminds me of another tree shaking video which I saw years ago when I became interested in the subject matter, and it was a dad and I believe two sons, and it was a weekend. It was an American holiday, and I can't remember which one, whether it was the 4th of July weekend, but they were at some forested national park area, and you can hear water skiers and boats and stuff in the background on a lake, and they were walking on a trail. And what you see, because he does use his phone and he takes a video of it, and what you see is 3 black human-like objects. They did not look like bears, and one was up a tree and one was standing below the tree, and the other one was kind of moving up away from them, kind of like how you see 3 siblings goofing off, and 2 of them are, like pranking each other, and one doesn't want to have anything to do with it and is just walking off. And in the video, one actually falls because you can see the tree shaking, and that's what actually grabs his attention. Is he sees the tops of the tree shaking, and then he starts doing the recording, etc. Very interesting. I was never able to find that video. If anyone else knows of this video that I'm speaking of, please let me know, because I would really love to find that video again. I just found it very compelling. Anyways, let's move on to the last story of the day. Okay, so this story takes place on November 1st and 2nd of 2019 in the state of California. The county was Humboldt County. I think we've done a few stories in that area before. And the nearest town is Whitethorn. All right. So this is what happened to me 3 years ago and twice more in 24 hours near the Humboldt-Mendo County headwaters of the Mattole River. I am absolutely convinced that some unknown animal exists here, so I began searching on the internet for similar accounts. Last July 2018, I was staying in a very isolated region which had a very limited access behind 3 lock gates and 20 miles south of Whitethorn, California, on a primitive 4x4 road. This place is at the end of the world, on the northern border of a vast green belt spreading from Shelter Cove on the coast, east to Highway 101 and south of Fort Braggs, and east of Piercy, as can be seen on Google Earth. About 3 a.m., I was awake. It was a hot and dark night in these mountains. Something above my tent location, approximately 200 to 300 meters, began knocking on wood, best described as loud whacks on a tree trunk by a big club or branch. It started with one knock, which got my attention, with a brief hesitation, then several more knocks, but randomly timed, some in succession, others after hesitations. The knocking was loud, so loud that it echoed down the canyon. The event lasted only a minute or two. My first thoughts were that there was no one on the mountain that could be out here in the middle of a primitive and protected area. These knocks were obviously from something large, and no North American animal could have made them. I listened intently while my mind tried to wrap around how the noise was made. The woods were silent, not even a cricket. I told a few locals after and learned that there were other hotspots for squatch sightings between Piercy and up to Willow Creek. Flash forward to November 2019 when I was waiting at the first lock gate to the same conservation area. I heard 2 distinct vocalizations which could not be explained. As I waited in the dusk for about 45 minutes, waiting to meet a party at the gate who were running late, I heard a very loud whale scream call that I've never heard before in nature. The call of this thing I located at about my 2 o'clock facing east and up the heavy wooded area above me, about 200 to 300 meters. I instantly knew where I had heard such an unfamiliar call about 3 years ago when watching a Bigfoot reality show where these Squatch hunters were making these strange, unique calls while searching for Bigfoot. There was a few seconds delay from the first call and then a few more, then silence for about a minute, leaving me to wonder if this whole experience was real. Pondering what I know about the wilderness, either that was an unknown animal or some kind of implausible prank. It was loud, echoing down the mountain, as though some huge creature could belt like the lungs of Pavarotti, only much louder. The chance of it being a prankster waiting in silence with me for 45 minutes in that remote location just to hang out in these impenetrable woods and prank me, it went away very quickly when another call out at about 300 to 400 meters to the north of the first, approximately my 8 o'clock. It was also just as loud, just as unique as the first, but came only 3 calls in succession. Ooh-ah-oh, 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 with a very distinct higher pitch on the ah. This obviously blew my mind because the first call might be an elk on steroids, but the response from what was clearly not an owl brought chills down my spine. This was some kind of communication between 2 individuals, neither which can be explained by any rationale. I must tell you that I have trekked and lived in remote areas in Africa, Australia, and Central South America, many places of potential danger, and never had I any inkling of fear. I was born and raised near Yellowstone Park, with 100 times the average distance trekked by most individuals in their lifetime, and never had bad experiences with grizzly, mountain lions, or wolves. Traveling all these years with a firm understanding of the ecosystem, I never could have believed in such mysteries, that anything new would be discovered. I had a fourth experience which I must say something about, but it happened just the night before the dual vocalizations. On Friday evening, November the 1st, 2019, I had just moved into a cabin that my brother and I rented, located along an extremely rugged canyon area of the Matole River. It was dusk, quite dark already in the forest. I was outside looking at the stars, taking in the newness of this rugged surroundings. Up above, again about 300 meters up and to the east of the river, there was a screaming that was so loud and so foreboding that I could only listen in amazement. It was the loudest screaming I have ever heard, so loud I thought it was produced by some kind of banshee from a horror film. The screams continued full throttle for about 5 minutes. I know mountain lions can scream, but nothing like this. It sounded much louder, more guttural, literally as if someone had set up a loudspeaker and played the bloodiest scream that Hollywood could produce. At the time, it was the night after Halloween, and I wondered if someone was up there on the mountainside pranking me as a newcomer to the neighborhood. I listened for a bit and then went inside and told my brother about it because it was so unnerving. Bigfoot didn't even enter my mind, but then at dusk the next evening I witnessed these 2 calls waiting at the gate. I have since been over and over in my mind why I have been so lucky as to hear or experience such mystery, much less 3 distinct vocalizations which cannot be explained. I began poring over USGS maps and satellite imagery to ascertain what the link may be 20 miles apart. Are there any people or neighbors or access for individuals in the areas I experience which may explain these? Could one individual in such obvious stress on one night have triggered the coincidental travel of at least 2 more unknown creatures the very next night? I have talked to many locals about hearing strange noises, but no one claims anything, or they don't want to be ridiculed. Look, I'm a man 63 years old with extensive wilderness experience in forests, jungles all over the world. The closest thing to a new species discovery for me was the Costa Rican jungles, but my mind has always been as a skeptic observer, dealing in evidence-based biology as a science. What has happened to me recently has completely changed me. There is a mystery in these woods, and I have a few ideas how to answer them. Again, if you look at the locations of where this happened, it is very remote. All you see is nothing but hillside, up and down, valleys, trees and water pretty much everywhere, and there's not much of a town. But in any case, just absolutely amazing. I personally am happy that I wasn't the one hearing those banshee cries, because that would totally freak me out and I would want to get out of there as quickly as possible. But anyways, guys, another great set of stories today. If you have a story that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCyrptids@gmail.com, and I would be happy to share them on this channel. Also, please let me know what you think of the new map approach that I used. I prefer it because you can now see, again, you can see a clear view of the mountain ranges and valleys, and you get a very good understanding at the topography of the area around these encounters. However, if you find it bothersome, please let me know and I'll change it, and we can go back to having the same approach we had previously. All right, again, that's going to be a wrap. Thank you guys again for coming out and checking out another video and going all the way to the end. I truly appreciate it. And again, I appreciate all your comments. Love reading them and love answering them. So thank you, everybody. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic Sunday. And we're going to see you all next week.